Yep, good morning. So glad to be here. I am Council President Pro Tem Mary Sheffield, and let me thank everyone for taking the time to be here on today for this very, very special occasion. Today we are gathered here today to once again take a stand for the people of Detroit. Today marks the 1-year anniversary since we launched the People's Bills. Yes. We are here today to celebrate and recognize the victories, but more importantly, we stand here today to reignite the fight for justice and equality, all right? Come on, you all. We understand that there are long, challenging days ahead of us before we consider the job for serving people actually complete. And we actually take on that challenge today. And so I just want to make sure everyone here today understands that the fight may not be easy, but we are committed to ensuring that we continue to lift the voices of the people and fight that the people's bills will be passed and complete. Over the last year, we have moved the needle from rhetoric to action, and now it's time to put the pedal to the metal and go full steam ahead on measures that provide real benefits to Detroiters who have been locked out of the process. As I stood here a year ago and said to you all that in order for Detroit's revitalization to be sustainable, we must protect and invest in our most important resource, which is the residents of the city of Detroit. The People Bill sends a clear signal to community that their quality of life matters and that there is a place in what some people call the new Detroit for all Detroiters. And so without further ado, I would like to bring up some of my colleagues and community members who were instrumental in passing some of our first bills that came before City Council. And first up is the Homeowners Property Tax Assistant Ordinance, the HTAP Ordinance. And just so you all remember, in 2016, there were nearly 40,000 homeowner-occupied households representing 32% of all Detroiters who qualified to have their property taxes exempted because they lived below the poverty line. However, a vast majority did not receive this exemption because they were not aware of the program or the process was too burdensome. I would now like to bring up the Coalition to End the Unconstitutional Tax Foreclosures, Ms. Bernadette, and I'm not going to pronounce her last name because I don't want to mess it up. But Ms. Bernadette, if you can please come forward, who, again, fought extremely hard to get this ordinance passed and would like to provide an update on the program and where we are today.
My name is Professor Bernadette Atuahene. I'm a law professor at Chicago-Kent College of Law and a visiting scholar at Wayne State Law School. I want to start my comments by just giving Pro Tem Mary Sheffield a big thank you. She has really been a leader in the fight to end these illegal property tax foreclosures that are a scourge to Detroit. So the coalition is a coalition of 12 different grassroots organizations who are fighting to end the property tax foreclosure crisis. And what we have here in Detroit is between 2011 and 2015, 1 in 4 homes has been subject to property tax foreclosure. 1 in 4. We haven't seen this number of property tax foreclosures in American history since the Great Depression. So the real question is, what in the world is going on? So we did a study, and we found that between 2009 and 2015, in each of those 7 years, anywhere between 55 and 85% of properties were being assessed in violation of the Michigan State Constitution, which clearly states no property is to be assessed at more than 50% of its market value. And we know after the Great Recession, property values nationally took a tumble. But in Detroit, the property values really took a tumble, but the assessor's office didn't keep up with it. So people were being assessed, again, in violation of the Michigan State Constitution. And when they could not afford to pay these illegally inflated property tax assessments, they were being foreclosed on record rates. And the last part of this is the majority of 40% of Detroiters live below the poverty level, so they shouldn't have even been paying these property taxes in the first place.
Yes, Bernadette, say it.
So you have a situation where people were being illegally assessed and as a result could not afford to pay their property taxes. So they were being evicted at record rates, at rates we haven't seen in history since the Great Depression, all for property taxes they weren't supposed to be paying in the first place. My God. And so, Mary, what then happens is there's a lawsuit led by the ACLU of Michigan, NAACP Legal Defense Fund, and the law firm of Covington and Burling. And part of the case was against the city of Detroit for this really obstructive administration of the poverty tax exemption. You guys wouldn't even believe me, but I promise you, the application for the poverty tax exemption was not even online. But even more than that, more crazy than that, I promise you, you had to apply to get an application. You had to apply, just erecting all of these unnecessary, ridiculous barriers to poor people in Detroit getting what they deserve, what the law says they deserve, which is, again, if you live under the poverty line, you get an exemption and you should not have to be paying these property taxes. So in comes Pro Tem Mary Sheffield, and the problem with the lawsuit is that the settlement approved by the judge only lasted for 3 years. Pro Tem Mary Sheffield comes on the scene and creates an ordinance and is instrumental in passing an ordinance that secures the wins of the lawsuit forever, right, beyond those 3 years. And that was a phenomenal, phenomenal win to make sure this never happens again. In Detroit, poor people will not be evicted from their homes for taxes they weren't supposed to be paying in the first place. And we owe Pro Tem Mary Sheffield a great debt for that. And she didn't just stop there, because you can't just be evicting people illegally and talking about some oops. I'm sorry. We need compensation. We need compensation. And so Mary Sheffield has stepped in again, and she's leading a working group that's gathering all the various departments of the city, community, bringing everybody to the table to really discuss how it is we provide Detroiters who were, again, unconstitutionally assessed and kicked out of their home for taxes they weren't supposed to be paying in the first place. How do we compensate them? And she is leading the effort to investigate and find a way to provide compensation for Detroiters. So I'm just going to end my comments by just saying, you all, we have a fighter in Pro Tem Mary Sheffield, okay? Because none of this has been easy. All of these fights that I'm talking about right now have been an uphill battle, and she is fighting right alongside community. We could not have a better champion. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, Bernadette. I appreciate you. All right.
So that is one of the bills that City Council recently passed. Next up is the Detroit resident parking fine reduction. Give it up for that, you all. Myself, along with Council President Brenda Jones, passed unanimously before Council this year parking fine reduction for expired meters and no parking violations. If you are a Detroit resident and you pay your ticket within 5 business days of issuance of that ticket, you will receive a 50% reduction on your parking ticket. This is extremely important for low-income Detroiters that are coming downtown trying to transact business or just partake in the activities in downtown Detroit. So we are extremely excited to announce that that bill has been passed, and Mr. Berry from the Church of the Messiah is going to come up really quick just to talk about the importance of that passage of that bill.
Thank you very much, Council President Pro Tem Mary Sheffield. Just want to say that we thank Council President Brenda Jones and Council President Pro Tem Mary Sheffield for making sure that this ordinance passed to be able to help Detroiters enjoy Detroit. As we come downtown, we see all of this beautiful development going on, and as we come down to take care of business in the city of Detroit, a lot of us know there's many times we would come down, you'd get a ticket, and you wouldn't be able to pay the ticket, and then the next thing you know, you'd wind up in trouble. It would prevent you from being able to come downtown and take care of the business that you needed to take care of, or to be able to enjoy all the amenities that all of Detroit should be able to enjoy. Because of this ordinance, this now allows everybody to be able to come down and not worry about what's going to happen to you, what's going to happen to your vehicle, what's going to happen as you look to take care of business and enjoy Detroit. So we want to thank Council President Brenda Jones and Mary Sheffield, Council President Pro Tem, for making it equal for all Detroiters to be able to come down and enjoy this great city. Thank you so much.
All right, now I would like to move to something that I'm really, really excited that we finally got done, and that is really not me, it is the people who came out every single day fighting for this, and that is Detroit Affordable Housing Development Preservation Fund. We were able, yes, give it up. We were able to secure $2 million to go into that fund during our last budget year, and we also created the first ever Detroit Affordable Housing Task Force that will oversee that fund. And this fund is focused on low-income individuals that are below 50% of the area median income, and I'm going to invite some members of the coalition to come forward and talk about that win and what it means for the residents here in Detroit.
Thank you. That's a huge win for Detroit. And not only did we get it for low income, 30% and below, we're trying for 25%. But the biggest thing for us is that 10% of those housing will be wheelchair accessible. And that's a huge, because we had a lot of people with disabilities moving out of this city to Westland and Ferndale and other cities around Detroit, and we need them back. So the only way to get them back is to have affordable, accessible housing. Thank you.
Make sure you say your name as well, too. That's okay.
My name is Rick Stonick, and I've had the pleasure of working with the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Group for more than a year now. And what makes me happy is there's a group that's addressing the needs of Detroiters who have stuck it out, lived here during the times when the city was not that pleasant, and they're still here or trying to be here. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that happens so often is some of them get displaced, even though there are laws that should be protecting them and giving them the right to be able to stay here and somehow plug into this city that's improving. So I want to thank Council President Pro Tem Mary Sheffield for all the work that she has done. I am encouraged and hope to continue with this, and hopefully we'll make this so that some of the things that go on are more fair than what they have been in the recent past. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Lastly, before we move to the work ahead, we also did pass 2 resolutions, one that speaks to the elimination of cash bail, which is a national movement as well, and then also one in support for the Homeless Bill of Rights. And I see some individuals here who have been working on that, Detroit Action Commonwealth. We were not able to do an ordinance, but we did pass a resolution speaking to homeless rights. Now I want to move to what lies ahead for us. So we had some really, really great victories when we launched the People's Bill, but we do have a lot of work that lies ahead. And I want to start off with the 51% local hiree ordinance. 51%, you all. We can do it. 51%. And so what this essentially does is require all city-funded contracts that receive more than $500,000 that they must have at least 51% of Detroit residents working on the job. And this is about Detroit building Detroit, right? Jobs like road construction, DWSD water projects, park and recreation construction work. We want Detroiters on those jobs, right? And a lot of people don't know that demolition right now, the amount of money that we're spending on demolition, it is not even required to have 51% of the workforce be Detroiters. And so we're going to add demolition as a definition for construction and make sure that demolition is actually added in the definition of construction to ensure that Detroiters are hired as it relates to the demolition in Detroit. And so I would like to call up Ms. Buckles and also Jason Cole from the Michigan Contractors Association to talk about the importance of this ordinance and the work that they've been doing.
Thank you, thank you. Good morning. I'm Terrell Buckles. We are so excited to work with you on this bill. I tell you, as an engineer, general contractor, and developer, we need a seat at the table. And what you're doing as far as the 51% local hiring ordinance is so important. We have businesses, small businesses throughout Detroit, and it's so important for us to be at the table. Not only that, Councilwoman Pro Tem Mary Sheffield has also added a mentor protege portion to the ordinance. That is amazing. Thank you so much. So I'm just very appreciative, and as part of the organization, our chair here, Darwin Parks.
Darwin.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Detroit. Again, I'm Darwin Parks, President of Michigan Minority Contractors Association and also Director of the Detroit Coalition of Economic Inclusion. And what we've done with the Detroit Economic Coalition, we've partnered with the National Business League, and we've developed a survey where we've gone out and surveyed over 100 of Detroit black businesses. And what we've found is that during that survey, the results are astounding. 78.35% said not getting a fair opportunity in sustainable inclusion and development in Detroit is not happening, as you can see around here. 67.83% felt that they did not be included in the participation and development around Detroit. So you can see, as you see work going on here, on Livernois, it does not represent Detroit. And that's why it's so important that the 51% ordinance is in. And lastly, but not least, 68.42% of Detroit leaders of black businesses felt a negative outlook on development and being participated in Detroit for the future. This is unacceptable. For a city that is 80% black, that black businesses are not being included in less than 5% of the opportunities around Detroit. So what we're saying is that we know that there are exclusionary type, systemic exclusionary cultural incentives that are not including black business contractors. So we want to work with businesses around and developers to make sure that the inclusion culture is part of their system. So we want to thank President Pro Tem Mary Sheffield for being a leader and vanguard in this initiative. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Darwin.
Okay. Now I would like to talk about a policy that has been much debate here in Detroit and across the nation, and that is surveillance technology. It is something that has become more and more pervasive in society with little to no community input or oversight. We have been working closely with the ACLU and the city's law department to draft the city's first ever community input over government surveillance ordinance. We have a special guest with us here today, and that's senior counsel for the ACLU, Mr. Chad Marlowe. If he can come forward. We were just upstairs today fighting to get this ordinance through council, and we're going to continue that fight, but I want people to be aware of what we're actually proposing.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Chad Marlowe, M-A-R-L-O-W, and I am a Senior Advocacy and Policy Counsel at the ACLU. I'd like to talk to you today about what I have seen, about what we have seen when it comes to the acquisition and use of surveillance technologies. We have seen police departments and other government agencies making decisions to acquire and use surveillance technologies unilaterally and in secret. We have seen when police departments have sought permission for them to have secured permission based upon incomplete and misleading narratives and information. We have seen with great frequency surveillance technologies used to target poor communities and communities of color. We have seen with great frequency surveillance technologies used to target vulnerable ethnic and religious groups like Muslims and persons of Middle Eastern and Southeast Asian descent. We have seen surveillance technologies used to target political activists. We have seen data from surveillance technologies disclosed to ICE, even in sanctuary cities, where it is then used to target undocumented persons. We have seen the use of mass surveillance technologies undermine the civil rights and civil liberties of entire populations. And we have seen Detroit City Council President Pro Tem Mary Sheffield and her colleagues on the Detroit City Council and the people of the city of Detroit say enough is enough. Yes. Enough is enough. And so we have seen the meticulously crafted community input over government surveillance ordinance arrive at the doorstep of the Detroit City Council, and there, if adopted, it will enable Detroit to join 13 other American jurisdictions that have already adopted laws mandating that decisions about how surveillance technologies are acquired and used, if they are permitted to be acquired and used at all, must be made transparently and include the voices of the people and their elected representatives. Community input over government surveillance is a bill that will enable Detroit to achieve the gold standard when it comes to government transparency and the protection of civil rights and civil liberties in the surveillance technology context. And if Detroit is anything, and I say this as a New Yorker who is immensely proud to have had 5 generations of my family born and raised here right in Detroit, if Detroit is anything, it is a gold standard city. Thank you very much.
All right, Chad. Thanks, Chad. Thanks for Chad.
All right, I now want to bring up our state representative, Isaac Robinson, who is a true fighter for probably everything we mentioned here today. I'm sure he supports, but he is constantly fighting for the people of Detroit in the state of Michigan. State Rep Isaac Robinson.
Give it up for our brilliant Councilwoman, Mary Sheffield. On every issue, they're imposing injustice on Detroiters. She's leading the way, and we're going to win. When I say justice now, say pass the bills. Justice now. Justice now. Justice now. And she already got some passed, so make some noise once again for Mary Sheffield. I've introduced a bill in Lansing to put a moratorium on facial recognition technology and its use by law enforcement. This technology is dangerous. It's horrible. It's terrible. And we need this city council to pass Mary Sheffield's bill to ban and severely restrict the use of this flawed, racist technology. We need it done ASAP. I can't believe the police commission in a majority black city would adopt and approve technology that misidentifies black people at high rates. It's terrible. So we're going to fight until we win. Say, we got the power. We got the power. And Chief Craig, every time he talks, he says, yeah, it's a flawed technology. Well, damn, brother, why are you using it? And let me tell you, as a criminal defense attorney, when you tell me people are involved, don't worry, the police are checking it out. That makes it worse. That's human bias. When 5 little pictures come up, they're going to go after the person who has a criminal history. It's unconstitutional, and we're going to fight and we're going to ban it. Make some noise for Mary Sheffield.
Fired up.
Fired up. Mr. Muhammad is here with us as well, too, that would like to speak on the surveillance technology ordinance. Come on up.
Thank you. I'm Dawood Waleed, not Dawood Muhammad, but we're soul brothers. It's no problem. It's no problem. No. Dawood, first name D-A-W-D, last name Waleed, W-A-L-I-D. I'm with the Michigan chapter of CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, which is a civil rights organization that is led by Muslims but fights for all the people. Now, in regards to this facial recognition technology, which we are completely against and has been misused, it has been misused in relationship to people of color. And just to go back what our brother just said, our brother from another mother, going back to what he just said, is that this facial recognition technology is flawed, and particularly it is flawed in misidentifying people of color. Now, we as a city of Detroit is an 80% black city, which also has a lot of Latinos as well as Arab Americans who dwell in this city. This is a city that has overwhelmingly people of color. And just like sometimes there are some people who think all of us black folk look alike, well, there's technology being deployed that can misidentify black folk just like how people think that we all look alike. And this is a danger. Now, in terms of mass surveillance, I want to point you to a couple of issues, one abroad and one domestically. Now, in terms of mass surveillance, one police department in the United Kingdom has stated that this technology of mass surveillance misidentifies people over 90%. In other words, it's not getting it 90% right, it's getting it 90% wrong, which then causes people to have investigations launched against them, legal fees that they procure, and also false incarceration. 90%. The second point is, it just came out earlier this month in San Diego, where police were using surveillance technology that was specifically targeting the American Muslim community. And this city, the city of Detroit, is the birthplace of Muslims as a religious expression in the United States of America. 11529 Linwood Avenue, Masjid Wali Muhammad. It's the oldest mosque in America for African Americans. It's the place where Malcolm X spoke at for the first time when he was targeted by the counterintelligence program mass surveillance. That also, the Detroit police was involved back then with federal law enforcement, right? So we simply just can't trust Chief Craig in the city of Detroit to say, just give us money for technology, but then city council and the people don't have a say-so in what type of technology they're using. Thank you.
All right, next up is an issue that advocates here today have been fighting for quite some time, and that is the issue of water affordability in the city of Detroit. I think today or this week marks 5 years since the United Nations declared that what is happening here in Detroit should not be happening, and that it's against humanity, that people's water right now is being shut off in the city of Detroit. I think the latest statistics that I saw was that 3,000 families per week are affected by water shutoffs. We have to stop hiding behind the threat of legal challenges and the lack of political will and pass a true water affordability plan here in the city of Detroit. I would now like to call up some of the advocates who fight every single day for the issue of water affordability, and that is Ms. Sylvia, Mr. Randy, and I think we also have Reverend Rowe here. No? Okay, so Sylvia and Randy, if you can come on up.
Hello, and thank you. Pro Tem Councilmember Sheffield, thank you so much for your ongoing leadership around this. I think one of the things that's especially important to uplift here is that in indigenous cultures, it is considered to be the responsibility of women as water protectors, water carriers, to ensure that our world around us is respected and that our families are taken care of, and that they are especially responsible for ensuring that we have the safe, clean water that we need for our lives. And in the city of Detroit, it's been our female-headed households that have also shared this burden of trying to make sure that children, our elders, our people with disabilities who are chronically ill, our military veterans who are wounded from coming back from many wars are taken care of. And so also in this tradition, what we have seen though on Detroit City Council is it's been only our female members of City Council who have taken up the call to ensure that we have the human right to water in the city of Detroit. And I say this again for the information that the council members shared when we started this conversation, is that we've been fighting this issue on water affordability in the city of Detroit for over 20 years. And it's shameful. We're standing right across the street from the amazing Detroit River. Our identity as a resident of the state is shaped by water. If anywhere in the world, Michigan should be the one leading the solutions, and instead we continue to fall behind. So I'm so pleased to know that as part of the People Bill of Rights, the council member is ensuring that water is still front and center on this, and we're looking again at how to reintroduce, how to reaffirm the human right to water in the city of Detroit, and the fact that we all have a right to safe, clean, affordable water, right? But the thing is that the city administration here has been using as an excuse the state constitution, particularly a Headley Amendment that says that you cannot have water affordability in the city of Detroit, or frankly any community across the state. And I need to remind folks, it's not true. Many of the folks, including with the ACLU, have done the legal analysis on this and said, no, it's not unlawful. In fact, it's lawful. We can establish water affordability as a fee structure. This is not a tax structure. which means that establishing a fee to enable water affordability in the city of Detroit, make sure that we ensure our water department is strong and operational and has the resources that it needs so that every single member of the city has the water they need without being subject to disconnection, so that shutoffs become a practice of the past, not a solution for going forward that just causes more misery. So we need to make sure that we understand the law and not use it as a political tool to separate people and continue to cause this harm. As the council member mentioned, next month, well, tomorrow, right, is the 5th year anniversary when the United Nations Special Rapporteurs came here to the city of Detroit. They met with us in many town hall meetings. We took them on a bus tour where they went into the homes of residents whose water had been shut off and had been suffering for many years, living with conditions that we would not even put upon our animals, right? And what they found was that the city of Detroit was in gross violation of human rights violations according to the United States agreements with the principles of how it is that we treat our most vulnerable people across the world. So we want to, again, pursue this right that we have to water affordability based on your low-income status, our most vulnerable residents. And in fact, as you've probably heard, the city of Detroit and the cities of Baltimore took our plan back in 2005, our Detroit plan, and implemented it in their cities. So while we've not been able to muster the political will here to do it, other cities took our plan and made it happen successfully. We can do this, and the time is way beyond past. We can do this year, and we should make this maybe our Christmas wish, right? Let's just make it happen. Thank you.
And I did just want to mention that we do have a proposed ordinance, and it's called the Water for All Discount Program. And it essentially allows individuals who are low income not to pay more than 3% of their income towards water utility bills. And so we're still focusing on that. All right, we now want to talk really quick about right to counsel. We also have a draft ordinance that the law department is reviewing right now that essentially allows individuals who are low income a right to an attorney if they're being evicted. We've been working extremely close with the United Community Housing Coalition and also Michigan Legal Services, and we would like them to come up and speak to the need to have this ordinance in place and also the ordinance funded, because it will cost money to provide free legal services to those who are indigent, but it's definitely needed here in the city of Detroit. So if we can have the United Community Housing Coalition and Michigan Legal Services please come forward.
Thank you. My name is Ted Phillips. I'm the Executive Director of United Community Housing Coalition. And we, along with Michigan Legal Services and Lakeshore Legal Aid, are the primary providers of counsel for people facing evictions in the city of Detroit. And despite all of the amazing work that all three organizations have done over the last year and many years, there still is no more than about 5% of those going to court that are represented by attorneys, whereas there's 85 to 90% of landlords represented. And what this means when there's 30,000 cases a year in that court is that there are thousands of people being evicted after receiving no more than a 1 or 2 minute hearing, or being so frustrated that they don't even go to court because a third of the cases end up in defaults. This is horrible. This results in homelessness. We see many subsidized housing tenants that can only afford $50 to $100 a month rent, who end up losing their subsidy, losing their housing, losing everything they own, and being homeless. This doesn't have to happen. And Tanya's going to speak for a minute about some things that are going on elsewhere as an example of why we know it doesn't have to happen. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tanya Myers-Phillips, and I want to also thank Council Pro Tem Mary Sheffield for her wisdom, for her insight, and for her courage for putting this ordinance forward. I want to speak, along with my colleague Ted Phillips, to speak about the importance of the Right to Counsel initiative. It's happening in cities all across the nation, not just Detroit. We need to follow the lead and the example that we see in cities like New York and Philadelphia and San Francisco, and being able to plan in advance. We can have 1,000 cranes going up and new units built everywhere, but if we don't recognize and plan for and mitigate the future effects of displacement, then we've gained nothing. Housing security is one of the most central issues that we need to address here in the city of Detroit. If our people don't have homes, if they're getting thrown out in the street for unjust reasons, then we have nothing. So I thank Councilwoman Pro Tem Mary Sheffield for pushing this ordinance forward, and we look forward to rolling up our sleeves, getting on the ground, and making sure all Detroiters have a safe and secure place to live.
All right, bear with us, you all. We're getting to the end. There are just a lot of issues that are impacting residents here in Detroit, and we're trying to cover as many as we can. The next one is the Community Benefits Ordinance. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with that, but we have that ordinance in place. And a lot of people do not believe, like myself, that it really ensures an authentic voice for the community to have an input on what goes on in their community. And so we're proposing some amendments to the Community Benefits Ordinance, and we would like to bring up a representative from SCIU that can speak to the importance of amending this ordinance to allow more conversations between community and also unions as developers come into our city and propose different developments.
Good afternoon. My name is Marquita Blanchard. I'm a lifetime member of the City of Detroit. I'm a 100% union member. Throughout my life, there's things that has always affected everyone, and the things that affect the community that are most important. Today, I employ the City of Detroit to take in consideration the people who are being represented today. We need to have a voice at the table from the beginning to the end, because who else can better determine what is good for the people other than the people? Things that affect the city would not affect us as bad if we had that voice in the system. We have security guards who have been fighting day and night, become a part. They are a part of this community. They're a part of our daily lives. They protect us every day. Without security here in the city of Detroit, there would be no events, nothing to come out and function for, no happiness, no security. So if we had a voice at the table, they wouldn't have to fight as hard to get what they actually deserve. They deserve a voice at the table. They deserve a decent living wage. These are the people who we depend on every day. Without security, where would we be? So once again, I employ the City of Detroit. I thank Pro Tem Mary Sheffield for all the work she's done. She is a truly community leader who cares about the people in the City of Detroit. And today, I like to thank her for everything that she has absolutely done in support of the union workers, because without the union, the city would not go any further. Today, I wear a shirt that says, "Together we rise. Together we rise. Together we rise." Without a voice in the City of Detroit, we will not rise. So today, a landmark day, today we rise. Detroit, one Detroit all day. Together we rise. Thank you.
All right, so next I would like to talk about the low-income DDOT bus fare program. And as you know, originally this was not a part of the people's bills, but because this is the people's bills and the people wanted it a part of the bills, we amended it and added this low-income bus fare program as a part of our legislation. So we want to bring up members of the coalition to speak on the importance of this. This is now an action item for myself in our office to make sure that we make sure that it gets done. And we stand with you all because this is truly led by the community, but I think it's extremely important as we just recently raised the bus fare here in the city of Detroit that we have to have a low-income bus fare program for residents in Detroit.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm standing here with thousands of bus riders who are in need of transit equity and transit justice in the city of Detroit. My name is Renard Mashunsky. I am a transit justice organizer with the Detroit People's Platform and lead facilitator of the transit justice team. We have been working hard on behalf of essential bus riders, those who rely on the bus as their only or sole means of transportation to get around this great city. We need access, affordable access. We are dealing with a system that is so underfunded and under-resourced. And recently, in May, fares have went up to $2, but has not been connected to any improvement in services. We are dealing with conditions such as once-an-hour buses, over 30-minute waits, and late arrivals. People cannot rely on the bus system to get to work, to their medical appointments, to all other to all other institutions in the city that people with cars have taken for granted and access to. But today I'm here to talk about affordability and accessibility, the low income fare program. We have veterans in our city. We have people that are returning citizens. Unfortunately, we have high homelessness, low income and individuals with no income that are still paying a full fare for buses when the service has not improved. So we are seeking an expansion of the reduced fare category by federal law currently that individuals with disabilities, senior citizens that are entitled to and enjoy and use. So we are seeking and demanding from City Council, and also I'm thankful to President Pro Tem Mary Sheffield for their support of a low-income fare program so all bus riders across the entire city of Detroit, especially in our neighborhoods, especially majority Black and people of color bus riders who have endured conditions that is unimaginable in any city. We need a low-income fare program. I need you all, members of the public, to call your city council members, including Mary Sheffield, but she's already in support, for a low-income fare program. Bus riders and supporters of bus riders, I need your help. We all need your help. Thank you all so much.
All right, I think that is all of the ordinances. I did want to mention that we do have a proposed ordinance before council that amends the inclusionary housing ordinance. So now if you receive a tax abatement from the city of Detroit, it is now mandatory that you provide affordable housing. At least 20% of your units must be affordable for residents that are below the 80% AMI income. I also wanted to mention that we are reevaluating the neighborhood enterprise zones. A lot of people don't know about those, but it's roughly a 20 to 30% abatement on your taxes, and it's one of the only tools that we have to give a resident a tax abatement. And so we're reevaluating those to try to provide relief for people who have been in Detroit and just need a little assistance with their property taxes. And so lastly, I did want to bring up Detroit Action Commonwealth. If you all can come up really quick, Clark Washington. A lot of what we talked about today, your organization covers. So if you just want to briefly mention some of the work that you guys are doing in some of the programs that may benefit Detroiters here today.
Good afternoon. My name is Clark Washington. I'm an organizer with Detroit Action Commonwealth, also co-founder of Street Outreach Court Detroit. And this is a court got started for the people of Detroit, for low-income and homeless individuals of Detroit. It's a court that we have that we help homeless and low-income people get their driver's license back if their licenses are suspended. And it's one thing special about our court. We do not come downtown, people. We do not go to 36th District Court because people of color, it seems, you go to 36th District Court, you have no money, they have a tendency to want to lock you up. So what I did with my program is I brought the court to the people. I hold court once a month at the Capuchin Soup Kitchen, where I have judges from 36th District Court come out to a soup kitchen once a month, hold court to give homeless and low-income people back their driver's license. This month I gave 21 people back their license this month. And next month I'll be going down to 36th District. I go down once a month for the last 6 years to see how many cases I have for next month. Give people back their license. It's a 90-day program you have to get into. But we do help out homeless and low-income people retrieve their license. If anybody is interested in this program, you can contact me. My name is Clark Washington. My phone number is area code 313-789-0390. And trust me, I will help you out. Also, at the same soup kitchen where we hold court at the Captain Soup Kitchen at 1264 Meldrum in the city of Detroit, we have lawyers that come out to our soup kitchen twice a month, every second Thursday and fourth Thursday of every month to give out free legal advice, people. It's free. Every second Thursday and every fourth Thursday of every month. If it's not a holiday, they're there. Now the catch to that is, you have to be there by 8 o'clock or no later than 8:15 to sign up to see the lawyers in the morning. But they're free. They're free. Anybody can walk off the street and see these lawyers. I'm telling you, it's worth it, people. Only thing they can tell you is yes or no. But it's free lawyers every second Thursday and fourth Thursday of every month. Thank you, and y'all have a blessed day.
He's gonna come over there. Got some good stuff.
Thanks, Clark. My name is Dominic. I'm also with Detroit Action. I wanted to extend a warm thank you to Mary Sheffield for all of her work in helping to pass the Homeless Bill of Rights resolution that was passed this past year. This protects and just recodifies people's rights to move freely in public spaces, to not face harassment, a right to their own personal property and to the protection of that property when in public spaces. It's a large fight that we have here in Detroit, obviously, around homelessness. It's an increasingly problematic issue as housing becomes less and less affordable, as gentrification ravages the city. The importance of protecting our most low-income, our most vulnerable residents here in Detroit is a cause that we take on at Detroit Action, and Ms. Sheffield has stood as a champion of. So I want to extend a warm welcome to her for all of that work.
Thank you so much, Dominic. Thank you.
All right, that is all we have today. I just really quick wanted to say thank you to everyone here today, all of the organizations, the people who have supported these bills. A lot of you all are congratulating me and telling me thank you, but it's really you all that keep me strong every single day and keep me laser focused on what really matters here in Detroit. And so I just thank you all for your work, your advocacy, and let's just keep fighting. I know that we have a long road ahead of us, but I am still committed to pushing this agenda forward. People told me that I wasn't going to get one bill done, but here we are today, right? Amen. $2 million in the trust fund, 2 ordinance passed, 2 resolutions down, 2 more drafted. So we are going to get this done, and regardless if we don't get it done, we are still challenging people to talk about these issues, right? We're raising up these issues of people of poverty and issues that need to be addressed. And so we're going to continue to talk about it. We're going to continue to make people address these issues. And I am committed more than ever. So I just thank you all for your support, your love, and just encourage you all to come down here as much as you can. Voice your concerns. Use your voice to speak truth to power. We need to hear from you because your voice matters. I really quick want to bring up Chad one more time. We have a surprise for him. Yes. So Chad has been working with our office for over a year, probably about a year now, on the surveillance ordinance. And this guy has not got a dime, but he has worked like he is getting paid overtime. But it means so much to us. The impact that it's going to have on the residents in Detroit means so much to us. And so on behalf of the city of Detroit, we would like to present to you an award of recognition, thanking you for your time and your commitment to seeing this ordinance through. So Mr. Chad Marlowe, the Senior Advocacy and Policy Counsel for the ACLU, an award of recognition on behalf of the Detroit City Council.
Thank you so much. This means the world. I thank you so much.
Oh my God, thank you. Yeah, you gotta hold that up, yeah. All right.
Thank you so much. Wow.
All right, so that is it. Lastly, I would just say to you all, we are nothing until the least of thee are something. So let's keep fighting every day, you all. God bless you all. Have a good day.